most of the problems we have, whether you have anterior shoulder pain, posterior shoulder pain, pain going up, pain on the descent, they can all pretty much be solved with the same exercises, because unless you have something that's causing rotator cuff instability, for example, you were a pitcher for 14 years, you're going to have a little bit of laxity in your rotator cuff and need to strengthen it. For the most part though, just with posture and poor biomechanics, we tend to have too tight of shoulder movers and weak scapular stabilizers. So the easy fix both of those, and then shoulder pain just kind of goes away. So let's talk about front shoulder pain or anterior shoulder pain. Again, a lot of that is going to come from those compromising positions, your ring dips, your push-ups. Go ahead and show a bad push-up. This is a bad push-up. Arms are up here. Does everyone see where my shoulders are? Okay. Lots of pressure. Even just from holding it here, I can feel that all through here. Okay, all through the front of my shoulder. All right. Fixes for this. This is the same thing for your push-ups, your ring dips, all of it. Okay. This will also help with your muscle ups. If you are flaring out on one side, on your muscle ups, if one side gets up there before the other one, you need to work on pulling those elbows in and strengthening the scapular stabilizers on this, especially your lat. So, good push-ups or frame dips, anything like that means you glue your elbows to your sides and they don't leave. Okay? So, we're here, you turn, kind of screw into the ground, and screw outwards. Okay, that's going to lock your scapula into place. Your hand should be right underneath your shoulders, and then you drop down. So I feel that a lot more in my triceps and in my lats. The other big thing to think about with push-ups is you never want to have this. Everyone sees the nice winging that I have in my scapula? Just so you know, if your scapula comes away and you can kind of see it protruding, that is winging. Okay? So, you don't want to push up like this. You want to be able to lock your scapula into place and do the whole motion without them ever moving. It's difficult to do, but when you do that, you're giving yourself so much more stability and you're actually going to make yourself stronger. The other thing to look at is biceps. We do a lot of, not necessarily curling, but a lot of elbow flexion, a lot of shoulder flexion. Your biceps covers 2 joints, so both of those are going to start working your biceps. So one thing you want to do is just stretch it out. Okay? You can stretch it just like this. This will get the lower part. Something else, this is great for all of the shoulder movers, is a band on a rig. Alright, so I like to tell people that they can stretch this anterior or front portion of their shoulder blade by putting your wrist inside the loop, okay, and then turning thumb down, okay? And then you just walk away and you kind of let that shoulder sink there so that it's pulling up and back, and you'll be able to feel it all through your biceps. You'll be able to feel it through your anterior deltoid. Okay? The band on the rig is amazing. You can stretch your tricep, lats, like that. If you want a lat stretch, I know some people have overactive lats, so if they're going up overhead, one arm might lag because that lat doesn't want to let go and give up length. So one way to do that is to just kind of gently pull. You should feel it all through here. Any questions about shoulder pain? Does anybody have shoulder pain in front? Yes. What hurts it?
Planes, actually.
Planes?
The bring it around. And then also when you look up overhead and back down.
Okay. So with the cleans, you've got that shrugging motion, and then you have to have a very quick shoulder flexion where you're catching weight. Okay. Work on stretching that out and locking these down, so that way when you're pulling up here and you go around to load the clean, these guys don't move, they're supporting a lot more weight. If those are flaring out, your arms are going to be supporting the weight, and that's where you'll get that kind of rounding. And then with, you said reaching overhead?
Bringing it down.
Bringing it down? Okay. Bringing it down is going to be a lot of lat strength, and that's what you would need to help fix that. Because again, you've got all these little muscles that have to move, but they're also trying to stabilize at the same time so that the weight doesn't come crashing down. So, lock it into place and give them some help. Makes it a lot easier. Who else had anterior shoulder pain? Front or back?
Well, sort of. I mean, and get overactive. This traffic so tight and that's the thing. Sometimes it hurts out here, but again, right on the outside.
So delta area. Okay. So something like this might hurt, like an outer, and this is called abduction, going away from the body. Coming into the body is adduction. You're adding to yourself. See what I did there? So abduction exercises might hurt. Loosen up that trap, and then you can take a lacrosse ball to that delt. We don't do a whole ton of these kind of motions.
Sometimes we are like holding.
Yeah, so something like a squat, maybe difficult to get your elbows all the way under the bar.
Or like snatch it, press it.
Snatch is definitely let it fall. That's the big thing with snatching. Because otherwise, not only are you holding it up here, but this takes everything so far away from the body that it's even less stable than if you were here and pushing up. So, we'll work on that after this. Okay, so posterior shoulder pain or shoulder pain in the back. This is the one that I see most commonly with people, and it is always when it's really heavy ring movements, so doing a lot of pull-ups, chest to bars, and a lot of overhead stuff. Overhead squatting, snatching, jerks, push presses. And again, that's the good thing about the shoulder. It all comes back to getting those scapulas stabilized and loosening up, especially the rotator cuff muscles. So, one of the big things that you can do, and you should do every day, is lay on a lacrosse ball right here. Does anyone have a lacrosse ball? We'll get this. This is a CrossFitter's best friend, right here. If you don't have one, go get 3, at least. All right, so this, you don't have to do a whole lot of rolling. You don't have to do a whole lot of movement. Your body weight on these little tight muscles and this solid piece of rubber is going to be enough, okay? So you are going to find the spot that hurts in the back here. You're gonna put the lacrosse ball right there, and you're gonna lay it. Arm out to the side, and you're just gonna kind of roll onto it. This should take your breath away if you have tight rotator cuff muscles. Once that's loosened up a little bit, you can then add in rotation. This intensifies it. It sucks, for lack of a better term, but it is absolutely necessary. I can't even stress how important it is for your rotator cuff to move. Because If your rotator cuff is not moving and you go to do something on the rings where you need to have scap stability and shoulder movement, you're going to tear your rotator cuff. You don't want that. So, lacrosse ball, right in there, add in a little bit of rotation. Okay? Let's see. You can also take the lacrosse ball and work out your pec. Okay? You can work out pec major, pec minor, and if you get really deep in there, you can get coracobrachialis. That's the guy that goes the opposite way. The other great pec stretch that you can do is with the ring. Any doorway, corner, pole, anything that you can get your hands on is great. You should want to do this several times a day. But you want to have your elbow blocked behind whatever surface you're using at 90 degrees or slightly above, okay? You're going to walk through so you get that nice stretch here and then rotate away. And you can change the angle on this. Okay? You're going to get all the fibers that way. The thing with the stretching is there's no set time that you should do this. People always ask, well, how long should I do it for? As long as it feels good, as long as you feel like you need it. If it's really tight and you're doing this several times a day, just a couple seconds here, turn around, do the other side, move on. The more you do it, the looser it's going to get. You have to have mobility here in the front as well as in the back, because if you loosen up the back and you give yourself scap stability, but you haven't touched the front, you're still here. It's very hard to pull everything back if you're locked in this position here. So, stretching the front, just as important as getting mobility in the back. Those two things should happen every single day, regardless of whether or not you're CrossFitting. With the lacrosse ball, if it doesn't hurt when you go to do it, great. That's one less thing you have to spend time on. But you should at least put the ball there and see if it hurts every day because of all the motion that we do. Some of the other fixes that you can do, or exercises to give yourself scapular stability, we're going to start from the most basic and then progress. If you cannot do the most basic ones perfectly, you have no business moving on to something else. Perfect reps are what we're after. And as far as number of reps and sets, when you do these, especially when you're just starting off, you are going to hit a point of fatigue. That might not mean you collapse on the ground. That might mean that you can't hold something for the time that you've been holding it. You might feel shaking in your muscles. One side might not be working the same as the other side. That is a failed rep, okay? Give yourself one failed rep, take a moment, go back. If you fail twice, that's as many as you need to do. That might be 4 reps, that might be 6 reps, it might be 14 reps. But that is your baseline, okay? When you can do those, no problem, add a couple. You continue adding on, and then you can add resistance to these and make them harder. But there's no point in doing anything with a less than perfect rep. You're just reinforcing bad movement patterns, and we don't want that. So, for scapular stability, some of the exercises you can do, these are part of a push-ups plus. I like to just call them pretend push-ups because the way I see it, with gravity and posture and everything else, you really don't need to be doing a whole lot of chest work. That includes push-ups. So the easiest way to start off with this is against a wall. You want your hands right in front of your shoulders. Same way that you do your push-ups, you're going to rotate or twist your palms in. So you should see a little bit of activation here around your shoulder blades. Okay? And then you're just going to slowly bring yourself into the wall. My arms are locked out, my ribs are locked down, and then come out. the whole time, I'm engaging my lats, I'm engaging my lower traps, engaging my rhomboids, everything around my scapula is turned on. You do not want this to this. These are bad reps. A lot of movement there, but we're not actually strengthening anything. We're just going through the motion. Every single thing should be slow and controlled. Once you can do it against the wall, I like to tell people when you can do 3 sets of 15 or 20 and you don't fatigue, you don't fail, then you're ready to progress on. So the next one is going to be on all fours. So the reason this one is a little bit harder is because when you're pushing up, you're going against gravity. Okay? So same thing, twist in, and then everything's locked in, down, come up, go down, come up, come. Once you can do those on the floor, you can move on to a band. You can either hold the band here, you can wrap the band around something, but we're looking for the same motion. Now we're just adding in an external force to give it some strength. So, Jason loves to say shoulder blades in your back pockets. That's probably the best way I've heard it put. A lot of people, when they pull their shoulder blades together, will go up and in. We want to go down and in, like you're making a V. So, shoulder blades in your back pockets also works. So when they're locked in, we're just stretching the band. Okay? These are good to do at different heights as well. So you can go here, in the middle, and up overhead. And when you feel that burning, you should feel it between your shoulder blades, you should feel it in your lats. And then you just keep progressing with heavier bands. Another great exercise that you can do to give yourself scapular stability and lat strength, and it will also help your overhead movements, especially your snatch, is to go to a rig, and these are kind of pretend pull-ups. If you do a pull-up workout and your lats are not sore the next day, but your shoulders are, you did not do them correctly. You want the beginning part of your pull-up to be initiated by your lats, not by your traps and your shoulders. Obviously, your traps and your shoulders are going to work through pull-ups, but you do not want to just have all of the work coming from here. This is a lot of biceps, a lot of triceps, a lot of traps. We want to use those big muscles. You have these huge muscles that all attach to your shoulder blades. Use them to your advantage. They make you stronger. Okay? So, what you can do is come over to the rig. You can do this in just your regular overhead grip. You can go wider, like a snatch. So we'll go snatch grip. You want that nice hollow body position. We're going to squeeze our shoulder blades together and then come here, hold it for 3 to 5 seconds, and then relax. And then same thing. It's a great strengthening exercise. It's also a great way to turn them on before like a snatch workout. I'll just do a quick 5 of them. It's an even better way to tell if both of your lats are working at the same time. I did that before a snatch workout and knew that my left lat wasn't firing the same way. I didn't know how it was different, I just knew it wasn't the same, and I ended up straining my rotator cuff on my left side in that workout. So, it's a real good strengthener. It's also a real good way to just get it firing quickly. Because again, if you're used to pushing up on the bar, it's not ready for this. You can't just jump into, you know, a 150-pound snatch or a 100-pound snatch without turning on your lats because they're just not ready to fire. So, great start off. Do it before every class because at some point you're probably going to have your arms up overhead supporting either you or supporting the bar, and it's just a really good way to get some strength in there. Another way to not only protect your back and make you stronger, but inadvertently strengthen your lats is any round-up movement, okay? Again, a lot of times we grab it, we think we're locked in, and then that weight starts to pull against us, and we round out, and everything just comes forward. So, one of the best cues that you can do is the inside of your elbow faces out. So, when you go down to grab a bar, you're nice and set, turn those elbows out, okay? If everyone sees my shoulders, when I externally rotate, they kind of lock into place. So then, no matter what, if I keep those engaged, I'm using huge muscles to lift, and I can't collapse. So I'll do that from the other side, so you can see. So here's my normal stance, and then elbows facing the front. And again, the bar's not going anywhere, okay? If you do that on every single round up lift, one, you're gonna save your back, two, you're gonna save your shoulders, but three, that turns every single lift that you just did, whether it's a deadlift or a clean and jerk, you just turn it into a lat strengthening exercise. You turn that into a scapular stability exercise without even thinking about it. That one little cue. So you do 50 deadlifts, you just did 50 lat strengthening exercises as well. So that's a really big one to remember. Let's see. So again, kind of going back, things you want to do every day. Something to engage your lats, something to open your chest, so the Pec Stretch or the lacrosse ball, and lacrosse ball back here. Some of the things that you can do, once you're able to do all of these scapular stability exercises and do them well, the easy ones, there are 7 million different videos that you can Google or find on YouTube that just progress it. The crossover symmetry machines, tons of them. The big caution there is you have to focus on your scapula because, and I told Jason I would show this one of the more advanced ones, it's almost like you are drawing a sword. So this motion here, okay? So I just want you to watch as I do it correctly, and then incorrectly, and then correctly. So, scapular engaged, going up. Okay. So now I'm not going to engage my scapula. Still doing the same motion, but that's going to end up strengthening other muscles. And a lot of times these will end up being your rotator cuff muscles. And as we talked about earlier, they're meant to rotate, they're meant to move, they're meant to lengthen and contract. If you are constantly loading them and strengthening them, they are going to not want to give up that length, and that's when you get a tear. So, really the only time you should be strengthening your rotator cuff is if you've got some form of laxity in it, or if you feel like you could get it stronger and you want to strengthen it, you need to do just as much mobility as you do strengthening. You can have that perfect balance of having something be strong and flexible. It's when they get out of balance where you get problems. Can you think of anything else, Jason?
Covered everything I thought about.
Okay. Yeah, we can just keep progressing these exercises, but are that if you have shoulder pain, you have to do the same thing as the next person who's got shoulder pain. It might be in a different place, but it all comes down to you want stable joints to be stable and mobile joints to move. So everybody should have scapular stability. Everybody should have the ability to move their arm, their shoulder freely. So if you can't do that, these exercises will help you, and we can always work on progressing them. But when you have that scapular stability and that shoulder mobility, everything in here is going to be easier and you're going to be so much stronger. I think I PR'd my snatch by 10 or 15 pounds just by bringing it up and letting it drop into place. And I PR'd my overhead squat the same way because this is such a stable position that you don't have to worry about the weight shifting versus here. I promise you will fatigue much faster this way. So, are there any questions?